You can kind of pull yourself under all the snags, and there would just be these massive, like, I'd call them swimming pools, like craters, where the fish would just sit happily, like away from everything.
I've just lent him my baiting pole, my bushwhacker baiting pole.
I've used a baiting pole.
He used to give me loads of shit about using a baiting pole, and now he's borrowed my baiting pole for his trip to the Isle of Wight. That is basically a bait boat that you have to push out with your hand because your engine doesn't work.
Yeah.
Hi guys, welcome back to the podcast. In the studio, we have Mr. Scotty Day, Harry Charrington. Lewis is back from his overseas adventures, and we are joined by Barley and Jimmy Armstrong. Buzzing to have Jimmy in the studio. We get into all manner of topics. Of course, we touch on Lewis's adventure, how he tackled a 20,000 acre pit over in Spain with Samir. We get into Jimmy's fishing as well, how he targeted the Tyson fish. And if you're after a certain ticket, well, you need a lawnmower. All will be revealed. Enjoy this one.
Came out the road, turned down, 5 minutes down the road.
See that
tree down?
Tree was down, yeah. Police
had blocked it when I got there.
Oh, were they?
And then released and let us through. And I got another 45 minutes down the A1.
And tree was down on the
A1.
Tree
down on the A1.
It was mental last night.
Were you fishing last night?
It's horrendous, mate. Didn't sleep a wink.
No.
You know, you wait for the pegs just to go flying. I had like bank sticks in.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. Sorry, I've only got 4 pegs on my. I've got a Frontier. I've literally got like 2 in the back, 2 in the front. That's all I ever do.
You need a Voyager Storm kit, mate.
Voyager
pegs
Storm
that are a lot
kit?
longer.
Yeah,
sounds like that's a little bit too heavy duty.
Too much weight for Jimmy.
No, you don't. You just take everything out. Just leave 4 of them in, and then just add a few of extra.
Yeah, they're like 12-inch pegs, aren't they?
12
12
inch.
Yeah,
12-inch pegs. Some 12-inch penetration.
What are product codes, please, Lewis?
Need to sort you a new one out anyway, because you've got the original Frontier. I need to get you the Frontier 2 once.
I've got your old one.
Yeah.
Hand-me-downs.
I do. You get the
I lent him. He broke his. I lent him mine and never got it back. It wasn't hand me down.
Correct. Yeah.
Right.
Did you catch anything?
I had a couple of small ones. Yeah, I was at that shallow pit. It's full of
Oh,
them.
right.
He was on a embryo.
I had some small ones and then left the rods in. So it's too windy.
Fair enough.
Yeah.
How
It's a bit
small?
Scotty Day
Like
fishing.
doubles.
No, I had a 20. I'd like a scraper 20 or something.
I do.
So that was all right. Yeah. Yeah, it's all right,
Days.
mate.
Nice. I bet it's been a contrast, mate, coming back to this sort of weather now when you were bouncing around in Spain last week.
Well, it was okay. The first day I was back, it was 18 degrees in England. It was lovely. I thought, happy days. And it's just got shitter every day, hasn't it, since?
Yeah, it's been horrible. What was that like bouncing around with over there? Like, when I was watching your stories and that and seeing it just in T-shirts, marooned on an island, fishing the abyss. What was that like? Was that?
Well, most of the time I weren't even wearing a T-shirt, but I didn't send you any of those pictures.
Says up for his own fans.
So just for Kristof to experience in real life.
Yeah, I'd get my top off in front of Kristof as well.
A bit of Brokeback Mountain.
He wouldn't put the sun cream in my back though.
Oh, gutted.
Fair play.
Good job, to be fair. I had that much garlic when I was with him. My back literally stunk of garlic the whole week.
Well, ate it or put it on his bait?
No, he was just eating it every day. He had these massive cloves, and every day chop them up, put it in, eat a whole packet of spaghetti every day.
Maybe that's his edge, though. Maybe, like, you know how, like, pheromones,
infused,
like female pheromones are supposed to...
Yeah.
He oozes garlic.
Literally, he stunk all week.
Which is why he catches so many big ones.
But I know what, like, spending the week with him, he wasn't bothered about... His rigs were as simple, literally a knotless knot. No tubing, no kicker, nothing. A knotless knot. Not bothered about that at all. His bait, some particles and some boilies, dynamite boilies, so he's not exactly like bothered about the best quality.
I'm leaving that in.
What are you like?
But every rod took like 4 hours for him to find the spot he was going to fish.
So particular.
Unbelievable. Like, he's going out with the echo sounder on the boat, finding something, putting a marker pole, and then he's up and down, exploring everything, figuring out like how his line lay's going to be going to it and everything. Like, he was putting an underwater camera down to see it because he wanted to fish in the weed,
Yeah.
but he didn't want to be in too thick a weed, and he it was so meticulous to get the rods right. But the first day we got there, we got there in the afternoon, and it was a rush to get set up and everything. And I was like, I'm getting free. I've only got a week. I'm going to get free rods fishing.
This is Kristof Cuderman that Lou's talking about.
So I've literally, that 5 meters depth. There's a bit of weed on the Echo Sounder. Throw a H block, drop my rod, lift it up. No weed, that'll do. Back, got 3 out quick. Yeah. Only a little bit of bait, like a PVA bag, but it's like you're fishing, aren't you? Go to bed with some hope. Kristof was like, not doing that. I'll start tomorrow. It's like, what? I don't fish like that. I can't just fish without trying. It's like, what?
Fish without trying.
I was like, yeah, but
I'm trying. I've been out of the bowl
and he was like, I wouldn't want to catch a big fish like having not tried. Like I was like, oh, okay. I said, in England we call that a tactical pub chuck. He was like, no, I couldn't do it. So okay. So the next morning, then he started trying, and it took him like all day to get 4 rods how he wanted them. But then he caught loads. And every time he went back out to redo his rod, he weren't happy with. I've got a marker pole, so I know just H block went back out again, making sure it was pinpoint accurate every time.
Yeah, doing that in the dark.
But did he? And he proper caught loads, did he?
Yeah. Well, the 7 days that we fished together, we landed 34 fish between us. I had 11, he had 23. So he had double the amount I did, and
that shit
shows what happens when you put a bit of effort in.
Did you see his bag? Actually think about a picture of one of his bags on Facebook.
Oh my god!
Yeah, could be why. It's floppy.
You're not casting it.
It was like an old sock.
You got to get that up on screen.
It was an old sock.
That was hair and it had drifted 3 yards off his spot.
It was an old
Like
white
what they
sock.
use in shark fishing, like those chum bags off the side.
He's going down. He's going like a banana.
The thing was, I was filling the whole tube up with whole and chopped boilies.
I thought you were going crabbing when I
And
saw
then
it.
Dean, you're getting your own back on him.
And
You're hammering him.
You can't compact it like right down, otherwise, obviously, all the crumb boilie just ends up coming through the PVA, and it's just messy. So, and because you're not casting, you're literally just lowering it off the boat. So I was like, I don't really care how it looks. Once it's dissolved, all the boilie crumbs there.
Yeah.
And started doing it because on the Saturday we got 60-odd kilometre an hour winds. I think it's like 35, 40 mile an hour, which on 14,000 acres, like it's white capping, it's like the North Sea. And Kristof wouldn't, he was like, I'm not going to redo my rods. Not because it was too dangerous, because he couldn't do them accurately enough in those conditions. Your boat's moving all the time. Yeah. So he was like, I'd rather not fish than just chance it. Yeah. And I'm like, I ain't got time. So he held my rod. I just motored out in the boat with the PVA bag, got to on my Echo Sounder, saw I was in the right depth where my marker was, and was like, throw it, just literally throw it, and then I've drifted away. I've turned around and come back, and I caught fish doing that. Like pub chuck in a PVA bag, just throw it, it's in the water, it's fishing. The conditions were mint, and because he wasn't fishing, that was my best day by far. Because he was fishing 550 metres, I was only at 400, I was at close range. And he was I think he was intercepting them before they were getting to me, and as soon as he didn't fish that day, I started to get more bites. But that was why I did the PVA bag, because I knew I was in weed. I don't know what the type of weed is, but it's like strands, so it's not like matted, and there's lots of gaps in between it. Right. So you'd be unlucky for your hook to catch a strand. But I wanted my hook to be in the PVA bag, which is why because I was using inline leads, I was tying the PVA bag above the lead and then just nicking it in. Yeah, it looks crude, but like I said, once it's
a bit like old school, like Magaliner style.
Like
fishing.
the Magaliner type PVA bag
works,
setup. That's all I was doing. Like I said, I could just throw it and know it would be presented. It wouldn't tangle, and the hook wouldn't be caught up in the weed.
You're updating a different postcode to your lad.
But it worked. It worked. Like I say, it worked. I was happy with what.
What was the biggest you had?
45-12.
It's not about size, Harry.
And I had a
It's about the adventure.
Well,
I had
it makes a difference when you catch them bigger, doesn't it?
I had 240s. I think 3 others over 35, so it was good. Like
they were lovely fish, mate.
Proper mega fish as well.
It's very simple fishing. I did actually catch 2 casting as well, because when the wind was really bad, I didn't want to go out with the boat. Again, Samir was messaging me saying he was fishing further down the lake, and he was like, just cast. We catch so many fish on this lake. You don't need to be at long range. Like when the wind's hammering at you, they will be in your margin. Just cast the bag as far as you just like. So I had 10-foot EOS rods, 3.5 test curve. with a 6 ounce inline and then one of those big bags tied on.
Wow.
And I was literally just giving it one of that like that. It was going about 40 yards. But you didn't want to be any further because you'd have been in too deep a water because it just peters off. So I just did that, and I had 2 fish doing that. And again, I said to Kristof, just do it. He went, no, I'm not doing it. I'm like, what? Why? He went,
I don't want to catch a big one on a pub check.
I don't want to catch doing that. There's like, you're just, it's just rather on complete luck. I don't want to do that. I want to fish on my spots accurately. I was just like, this is crazy. But he had 3 weeks, so he could take his time, couldn't he?
Yeah.
I had 1 week. I needed the maximum.
Most of it.
And that same day, Samir, several miles up the lake from where we were, doing the same thing, casting in the wind close in. He had a 48-pounder on a cast with a PVA bag. I mean, his PVA bag was a solid bag. It looked much more professional and neat than mine did. But yeah, it just goes to show, like, just because it's a huge piece of lake, you don't need to fish at the stupid range. You can catch them casting as well.
Yeah. It certainly fired me up for a trip out there.
It does look
I'd love to
amazing.
get out
It does
there.
look amazing. What about you, Jimmy? Are you quite particular, like Kristof, in
Not
that sort
as
of
mad
sense?
as Kristof. I've got more particular since I've got a pal of mine, Lewis knows well, Stefan, over in Germany.
Yeah.
He's fox angler, actually.
Yeah, Stefan.
Yeah.
But yeah, I go over to Germany once, hopefully pushing to twice a year.
Yeah.
And his boat fishing is very much like Kristof's. Sometimes Stefan will use 3 different H blocks, in a metre or so. He's so particular.
Just to get it absolutely,
absolutely
on the money.
with his underwater camera and stuff as well. And I've probably cottoned on a little bit to that, maybe not quite as anal.
I've seen you doing that with your bait boat camera.
Absolutely,
Like,
yeah.
You're able to be real. Yeah.
Oh, mate, when you can use an underwater camera, you're...
Harry's face.
This is where we need chili in.
You haven't lived yet, Harry. I've done all that malarkey.
I've just lent him my baiting pole, my bushwhacker baiting pole.
I've used a baiting pole
He
before.
used to give me loads of shit about using a baiting pole, and now he's borrowed my baiting pole for his trip to the Isle of Wight. That is basically a bait boat that you have to push out with your hand because your engine doesn't work.
Yeah.
I've got nothing against a baiting pole at all. It's a manual form of angling.
So you manually push a lever and manually drop a camera.
Hey, look, I can see why people would like to do it. Like, I love watching the underwater stuff and that. It's just
Stefan's isn't in Germany. It's not actually with a bait boat. It's like it's a manual underwater camera.
Yeah.
You lower it off the side and sort of bounce it along the bottom whilst looking at the screen.
So when you're searching for these spots, are you literally moving it to the point where, 6 inches, that's not right, but that 6 inches
it can
is
be,
the
depending
difference?
on the spot. Absolutely, yeah. And your eyes are really open there as well because you're looking for like little craters in the bottom.
Right.
The harder areas, like the real rock hard gravelly areas, you rarely getting bites from, or you're getting really done on them. You're looking for kind of the silt, the really clean silty areas,
Like a
where
feeding
the carp
zone where they've been.
Yeah, where they've been caught sort of.
But they haven't absolutely fully harvested it yet.
That's right. You're just looking for those little holes where they've been nuzzling around in the silt, and you really see them as well.
Yeah,
You see all these little craters, and that's generally a good spot to have a pop on.
I suppose once you've lowered it and you've got it at that spot, it's that, when your rods are set and there's no head gremlins, then I'm absolutely fishing. I suppose that's what Kristof has
100%.
got with that being so particular. He just doesn't want a single head gremlin.
It. Yeah, he wants to. So I can't, when I'm doing my casting fishing, normal English fishing, I can't cast out and put the bobbin on and sit back on the bed chair thinking that will do. Like, I have to feel it hit down and think that's hit the clip perfectly. It's on the mark. Otherwise, I'd just sit there and I'd really I've tried it. I thought that'll do. 5 minutes later, can't do it.
Yeah.
So I understand. That's how Kristof's mentality was with the boat fishing, whereas I was just like, well, at least it's in the water. You're definitely not going to catch anything if it's not in the water. So I was happier to just pub throw it off the boat.
Yeah.
Pub throw it. Yeah.
So since obviously you've brought in bait boat and underwater cameras and stuff, do you is that making your
Do you devalue your own angle?
no do you not does it devalue, do you find it hard to not use that stuff?
No, I mean, I'd prefer to use it if it was there.
Yeah,
absolutely, because you're you can get everything absolutely perfect, can't you? So much.
Because I know,
more.
like for example, I know people who, if they get to the lake and their bait boat doesn't work, which I think happens quite a lot,
They go home.
they go home.
Yeah.
Would you go home if your bait boat wasn't working?
No, and I think it depends. It depends on the venue as well, doesn't it?
Yeah.
If you're fishing a venue where you know that the spots are like this big, and your chances of landing on those spots are virtually nothing through casting, then yeah, you might go and change a venue. But no, I don't think I would go home, mate. There's always opportunities, isn't there?
And do you do you think that
Jimmy, have
having that camera makes you at times almost be too particular, and there are times when actually you shouldn't be looking for that perfect spot on there,
Mate,
they're not
1,000,000%.
fishing. Yeah,
1,000,000%. You can be far too anal about it. Yeah, you want that rig sitting out nice and straight, the pop up just wafting like. Yeah, you can be miles overly anal with a camera.
That's why I don't like that.
Yeah, whether it's on a bait boat or and camera off the side of a proper rowing boat. Yeah, 100%. You know whether your bait's gone, whether it hasn't gone. It does take away some of that mystery, doesn't it?
And that's for me the best thing about having the camera on the, either if you're going out in a rowing boat or the bait boat, is to see after a bite how much of your bait's left out there, so you know whether to top a bit up or whatever.
Yeah.
Or if you've not had a bite and you go out and you can see on the camera. You know, you
could send out. You can have one hopper filled with loads of bait, one hopper filled with not a lot of bait. Go out and then look with your camera. Oh, they've had a load. Or drop the big hopper.
Yeah. It's like playing on a Game Boy, isn't it? A little bit.
But I
takes the guessing out of it, doesn't it?
I don't like being able to see it with the camera, because you are, like Jimmy said, you're just thinking too much about it being absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Kristof said to me, "Do you want to use my camera?" last week, and I said, "No, that's one more thing to worry about."
Yeah,
like I'm relying on looking on the echo sounder. I can see there's weed, and then I was back winding the rig down, running it up quickly. If there's no weed on the rig, then I was attaching the PVA bag and dropping it, and I was happy with that. If I'd put the camera down and then it could have then shown me something, I'd be, oh fuck, I'm now not happy with that, and I'm gonna. And I didn't feel the need to it, so I never used it. I never used it once. And me and Jimmy have both got a ticket on a lake in Cambridgeshire where bait boats are allowed, and the water's gin clear, and most of the guys who are successful there are using the winch cameras.
99%. If you don't, you're at a disadvantage.
Massive
if you
disadvantage.
Don't.
And
yeah,
I haven't fished it for 2 years because I've got the winch camera, I've got the bait boat, but I don't want my weekly fishing to be. I can't do that thinking like I'd have to use the tools available to me, and I don't want to be sitting there thinking, dropping the camera, making sure it's right, especially on those lakes because there's loads of tench, so you're getting many bites and having to regularly do it all the time.
True.
And I just can't. My mind can't do that. So yeah.
So if you just with this now, Jimmy, then if you're using this camera and stuff, even at night time, are you still?
Oh mate, it's not something it's on particular lakes like the one that Lewis
we're
just
making
mentioned.
it sound like Jimmy.
No, I'm just thinking like on this particular lake. Then, if you've had a fish at night and you're going to recast, are you right? Bait boat back out, and I've got to get it as it was on this particular lake.
No, don't answer it. Don't answer it.
Stop talking, Dad. Stop
You
talking.
don't just use bait boats, Dad.
Dad, watch out! Harry's really trying to stitch it with his bait boat. I'm going to distract him.
At night time, it's hard. I mean, some of them have lights on, mate. Some of the cameras, but the chances of getting it back on that spot like you would in the daytime is pretty slim. So you kind of rely on the echo sounder more at that. But yeah, you kind of getting it right in the daytime for that one night bite, really. Yeah. It's not really a lake where you get... Dad, stop. It's not really...
For people who are listening to this, obviously Jimmy's got his dog Barley, and Barley does not want Jimmy to answer the questions.
He's been fishing all night with me. That's why he's here. But it's funny one bait boats, isn't it?
Yeah. No, it's one of them.
Loves them, hates them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I quite enjoy using mine.
Yeah.
I've cast for many a year, caught many a carp casting, and I quite enjoy the technology side of it.
Yeah, I do. I do as well. They're a tool for the trade, though.
A bait boat PB, a baiting pole PB, floater court PB,
It's hard.
zinc court PB.
One of your best ever fish, right? Was on a boat, if not the best ever fish you've
Define best, biggest.
had. Savannah fish.
Oh, that one with a boat. That was casting.
Oh,
I'd use the boat. I'd use the boat to find a clear area.
Right.
Dropped a marker float, and then for a few weeks leading up, I was
Right.
pre-baiting that area
spot finding.
with the spom.
Yeah.
I only used the boat to find the original spot.
Right. Okay.
So yeah, but my biggest,
I
my
feel
biggest,
my age.
my
No,
biggest,
I thought that was quite good angling actually.
my biggest fish in the UK was caught with a bait boat though, but that was 62 from Home Fen,
Holiday PB.
a holiday PB.
Yeah, I was going to ask about that. So I saw this when you put a picture up this week of saying that 60-pound feeling, and I was like, Jesus, he's absolutely slaying them again. He's out again, having 60s.
Yeah, I had a mate text me. I was like,
Right.
I've not even got a beard in that picture. Literally, I was like, he was like, oh yeah, well, I'm going to go out. It's 2015.
Right.
9 years
right.
ago or something crazy.
Jesus, was it?
No,
Something
it wasn't 2015, surely.
No, it can't be because
No, 2018, something like that.
yeah, Piper's 7 and Piper would have been 1.
Right.
So 6 years ago, 2020,
Yeah,
just before
2019.
COVID, 2019. So yeah, but yeah, that was caught with a Jolly Roger. So
Nice looking fish, even for home. I know home fen, but
Even
it was
for
a
home
nice.
fen.
It was a nice fish.
I think
It was a
the
lovely
fish in
fish.
home fen are actually mint.
Some
They
of them
look
stoners,
really
yeah.
nice,
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
it's just their.
but that's the same
their
fish that
heritage,
Kristof Cuderman, who we've been talking about, that he caught when he came to England. He caught it. Was it 70 or high 60?
69.
Yeah,
Was it?
yeah,
Yeah,
same
big old
fish.
fish.
That's that.
Is that the one that got at the net?
Yeah,
That was the
Yeah.
one. Yeah.
yeah.
The one that his girlfriend let go before he could have photos with.
So you've come straight from the lake to do this podcast, Jimmy?
I have. Barley's trying to get under the table. Yeah, I've come straight from the lake. We were filming with CC Moore.
You caught
last
some
night.
fish.
I had a couple of small ones, yeah, and then sort of a 20-pounder this morning before we got here.
Nice.
So yeah, apologies, lads. He's,
Job done.
He's having a shake up, but
How much are you fishing? Because it looks like a lot.
yeah, it probably
Be
looks.
honest.
It probably looks
Be
more than I
honest.
do. I try in prime time. I try and get out a couple of nights a week if I can.
Yeah.
Not all the time, but a lot of the time.
He has to balance it with the 3 days a week he's playing golf.
Right, he will go on about it. I do actually have a business outside of fishing,
Yeah.
and members of staff. Like I've got 3 staff that
Who are
need
very good at
looking
managing
after,
themselves.
who never see me. But yeah, 2 nights a week. I don't think I could ever change.
Yeah.
Regardless of the business.
It's
Probably should say that.
It's
but
always been that way.
it has, mate. Yeah, forever. I've tried to get out 2 nights a week.
Is that why you've sort of come to a point in your life where you're managing yourself, like you've got your own
Yeah.
businesses and stuff rather than working for other people? Because obviously you've worked for Corda, worked for CC Moore.
Yeah, it just gives me that freedom. If I want to go to France next week for a week, like Tala, I'm on my way. The only boss is obviously the one at home. I have to get away with that, but she knows what I'm like. If I need to go and do a bit of fishing, I will.
He tries to tell her it's work, but she's not that stupid.
No.
Wise up. They wise up,
Use
don't
that
they?
one far too many times.
I have
Do
to,
wise
yeah.
up.
No, I'm fortunate, mate. Two nights a week probably.
Yeah.
Yeah, whether that's personal fishing or work fishing.
Yeah. And are you fishing for any specific fish at the moment? Like any targets?
I will be in this. Yeah, probably in the next 3 weeks. I'll be back to the syndicate we were just talking about. On a different lake this time, and actually that will involve plenty of casting because I've got a bit of a plan of attack because it's so bait boat orientated. I'm going to have a little go at casting. I'll discuss it because people will just see me doing it there anyway. But there's like a boundary with a bait boat. You can only fish so far.
Yeah.
If you're casting, you can fish pretty much as far as you like.
Oh, nice.
And the boundary, I can definitely cast further than the boundary of the bait boat.
Yeah.
So it might be that
a bit of an edge.
Yeah, it could be. It could be.
Do you see them like showing out
Absolutely.
in that sort of
Yeah,
safe zone?
They do show in the kind of no-go zone.
Yeah.
So if I can get nearer to that no-go zone, I might have a nice few weeks fishing. So we'll see. It might not work at all. Might need to get the bait boat straight back out. But
How well is the boundary of bait boats policed?
Very
Is it?
Yeah.
policey.
Okay.
I
Me
think
and Lewis have had a couple of messages.
Yeah.
Oh, right. When you've been pushing the boundaries
Yeah.
accidentally.
Yeah, they obviously, because and rightly so, there's a lot of people who abide by the 120 metre rule. So if they see other people not, they're quick to let the bailiffs know.
Snitches get stitches.
But they're immediate as well. One day mine blew a bit too far in the wind.
Oh, I did that on a cast once. I got banned.
Yeah, and your finger accidentally pressed the button.
It did,
and
mate.
it dropped.
Yeah,
My
it
excuse
did.
was I was learning to use the GPS function on my bait boat, and it just it drove itself out there, and I was like, "Oh my god, that's gone way too far. I need to come back." It was too late.
Did you put the GPS point to the centre of the lake?
Yeah, but no, we've learned that lesson,
Yeah.
haven't we, mate? We've had our yellow card.
Yeah. Oh, nice.
That's nice. You've got a campaign coming up, though, mate. So
Yeah.
I wanted to touch on sort of campaigns, and obviously, if you've only got 2 days a week, has it always been that way? If you've got a certain lake or a target in motion, if it's always 2 days a week, and I look back at all the, you've caught a lot of big fish from different venues. I'm looking back at the Tyson fish, for example.
Yeah.
What was that sort of campaign like? I wanted to get into the bones of how you targeted that, how you went about it. And
That might have been more than 2 nights a week, that
Yeah.
one. In fact, when I caught it, I was on a week-long session. But I had taken that as holiday.
Yeah.
We worked from home a lot, which was quite nice.
Nice.
Which kind of meant that I could...
Home can be wherever you want it to be.
Correct, absolutely.
Sorry, I have to interrupt. I remember Jimmy working from home on the bank once. I went to see him on a lake. It was really close to my house, and he had a leisure battery in his laptop, but he was working in an aqua atom bivvy. If anybody can remember an aqua atom bivvy, it's literally the smallest bivvy I think ever made. No headroom at all. And he was sat sideways on his bed chair, hunched over, trying to tap on his computer. If you're going to do this sort of stuff,
it
you
properly,
need a bit more room.
Yeah, I can remember that.
Hence why you grabbed your frontier.
So that actually came on a week-long session when I caught Tyson.
Right.
And I remember saying to Big Rich, it's coming. Like I'm catching him in the next few weeks.
Yeah.
I need to book a long session off of work. And this was in my Cordy years, so I'd have been mid-20s, I think, 24.
Can you say
something
what
like
was
that.
the lake? Can you say the lake?
Yeah, Hope Lake at Grendon. I'm pretty sure it's...
Yeah.
You're allowed to name it, I think.
Yeah, it's not
Yeah.
publicity. But
No.
Okay, yeah.
I remember saying to Rich, and I actually booked the week off. I think I'd started on the Monday. Then on the Tuesday night, I remember Rich ringing me, and I was in a swim known as the Point. I don't think I'd caught anything at that point. And as I was on the phone to Rich, I saw Tyson come out. It was whilst I was on the phone.
Yeah.
Like Rich was here, but I remember that exact. You won't believe this. I have just seen it, and there's no mistaking it at the time. It's by far, the biggest carp in the lake. I said, mate, it's coming. Next morning, 8 a.m. Off it rattled.
Wow.
Tyson, yeah.
Nice. How big was that lake?
Oh, mate, it was 47,
Wow.
I think 48, something
Right.
like that.
Is it still going, or is it?
Yeah.
yeah. But it's like right up.
57, 58.
Yeah,
Big
proper
carp,
upper 50.
big
isn't it?
fish. And back then it wasn't unknown, but it was it was kind of younger and he was beautiful.
So you knew, obviously, you got the ticket, you've arrived, you're now staring at 40 odd acres of water.
Yeah.
Did you have a plan in your head? Right, how am I
big
going to
is it?
attach this?
How
Attack this?
big? No,
Did you say
no,
4?
No, he said the
no,
fish
no.
was 40.
Oh,
odd.
right, no, I was on at the lake. I was
Oh,
like,
the
47
lake
acres.
size.
Huge.
Sorry, mate. No, 15 acres, do you reckon?
Yeah,
15.
so about,
Maybe,
Right.
maybe 12, 15 acres, something
Okay,
like that.
so arriving at the lake, you've just walked onto it for the first time. Did you have a plan in mind of, right, how am I going to attack this and put the sort of jigsaw together?
Yeah,
really?
I started. I was struggling on there for a few weeks, sort of early springtime, and I actually ended up. The lake was pretty clear at the time. It went through spells of being incredibly weedy, or very barren, and this was one of those barren years. And fishing kind of on those barren spots wasn't doing a great deal, but there were tiny little areas of weed growth. And I actually ended up fishing into that weed, which worked incredibly well. I think I ended up with 18, 20 fish that spring, which along with Dennis McFetrick, we were top rods by far, and I noticed he was fishing in the weed as well.
Right.
And
Did you notice he was fishing in the weed, and then you started fishing in the weed?
No, not at all. I'd been tipped off by a bit of an angling great about the weed and his experiences there years before, Jay Hayward. And he doesn't let many secrets out, Jay, but he helped me out on that one and said have a little pop, and it worked.
I think sometimes when you get those years where the weed is a lot less, it is harder. It's easier when you've got more weed in a sense in those.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Sometimes you've got holes and you can fish up to it. When it's not there, it's sort of like a barren
It was the opposite, when you fish in a really weedy lake, people look for the clear spots.
Yeah.
When there's not much weed in the lake, like look for the weed.
Yeah.
To quote Nick Hellier, something like when there's nothing, something is everything, or something.
In the land of nothing, something is everything.
Yeah, something like that. Yeah. But
Great
it's
quote.
so true.
Yeah.
It is true.
It worked. Something like that.
Something like that.
We said that before, though, when it's like when you're fishing areas with no weed, the fish have got no safety.
Yeah.
You can quite easily push them away.
Absolutely.
But that's also like this time of year as well, where you've got that like little bits of fresh weed growth that are like that, not up 6 inches a foot. Like that can be killer.
Yeah, it was.
Proper killer.
It worked great. I had a lovely time on there, and it's quite nice to look back on it now because people like I think Penning fished it like a couple of years ago, maybe 3 years ago, something like that, and he's catching kind of the carp that I'd caught, but a lot smaller. But it was lovely to see it. They're all still there and just looking unreal now.
Nice. So when you were sort of piecing it together and you started catching, were you sort of ticking fish off that you wanted before you got to the?
I only really took notice of Tyson at the time.
Yeah.
I knew there was like plenty of decent backup fish.
Yeah.
Not like there is now. They're all mid-40s now, but back then they were 30s and mid-30s. But yeah, I didn't really look at anything else other than Tyson, but just caught some lovely ones along the way. It was a good campaign, that one. Enjoyed it.
Was it a spring capture?
Yeah, it was.
Yeah.
Hang on a minute. I can't remember, mate. Was it? No, it would have been autumn actually.
Right.
It'd have been autumn. But same tactics.
Yeah.
Worked really well.
What was your sort of baiting approach on that sort of venue at the time?
Not a lot, believe it or not. It was throwing stick, 15 millers.
A good spread of boilie then.
Yeah,
sort of thing.
I think it would have been Cell at the time.
Right.
Cell absolutely dominated that water. In fact, thinking back, it was a long time ago now.
Yeah.
I had to get onto the Cell to get bites, believe it or not, at the time. It was mental how dominant that bait was on that lake.
But that kind of lends itself to not fishing too much bait as long as you were using the bait that everybody else is doing.
Correct. Yeah, it was.
And if they're using loads of it, it kind of gives you an advantage not using as much of it, but gives you a better chance of them picking
In fact,
up
I can't even remember what bait I was using or getting at the time, but I might have been buying Cell at the time to do it. It was so dominant on that lake.
It had I think Cell had a period, didn't it, where it was just a lot of lakes around the UK was the same. I know the Mere was at one point. Cell was very Cell and Activate, wasn't it, like a mix almost?
Loads of guys using it still.
Yeah,
really, not just on the Mere. I know loads of fish getting caught on Cell still.
Yeah,
it's not something I've used a great deal of, to be honest, but it's still really popular.
Yeah,
I think people tried using like their own versions, nutty, the nut mix or whatever. I don't know.
Or colour close to it,
like
and
colours
stuff.
and smell. But it just, I think because the amount of it that was going in, I think all the bailiffs were using it in. They were feeding it all, and you could stick a single Cell on fish and get a bite.
Yeah.
Wasn't it Abbey Lakes where it was getting used, and they were catching them crays? Sure, Rupert said when he was there was that much going into Abbey Lakes when they were getting the crays out and they were eating them. They tasted of coconut. I'm sure he said something.
Sounds a good story. Sounds a good story.
Sounds a Rupert story, doesn't it?
Yeah.
But I don't know what it's like today. What dominates it today? I'm sure it's changed a lot. But yeah, good times.
Yeah, no, it sounds good. Is there another sort of, obviously you've had quite a few campaigns on different lakes. Is there one that sort of sticks out in your memory as being the most euphoric sort of one that meant the most to you?
I've been lucky enough to fish some cool lakes in the past. my EGGETS days were wonderful. In fact, that whole Hemmingford Grey era was pretty special.
Sort of the ones that challenged you, as an angler, you're like, right, I've really got to think about this. And from doing that, it means more, doesn't it?
EGGETS did. And I can say that word now because it's no longer, is it really, EGGETS? I don't even think the fish are in there anymore. But it was that lake was a pond, let's call it, but a very, very old, neglected sort of garden pond. There was a bit of a rundown house. It was a big old house, probably worth millions. But there was an old lady that lived in there. And it was in her garden, really, and there was a little small syndicate of 12, do you reckon?
I don't know, I've never got in, so don't know how many people
I blackballed him
me.
straight away. It was the total crafty carp rivalry. He ain't coming on.
That was before you were mate.
No, it was. No, I'm kidding.
DHP versus angling pubs.
Yeah, exactly. But it was like a forgotten old pond, and it was incredibly weedy, so weedy. It was like like a football pitch of weed along the surface in the height of summertime. It was real hard work, but there was some real nice old fish in there, and kind of the cream of the crop was a leany linear that did anything between sort of 38s and 42s at the right time, and it was a picture of Ian Bailey with it that kind of lit the fire to go and have a go.
Right.
I don't think Ian Bailey wanted me on there either at the time. I think he might have tried blackballing me. But my old mate Jay Hayward got me in there. It was some of the best fishing I've ever had. I caught some of the oldest, like loveliest old carp you can imagine, really. And I had it to myself most of the time. There's 12 members, but no one really fished it.
Yeah.
Just angling that I probably won't ever sort of...
Those lakes are so special,
to do
aren't they?
again, really.
So it's really, really small. Is it proper clear?
Oh, mate, gin clear, sort of, little shallow areas, little deep areas. There were, it was festooned with snags. There was like an area that I called the swimming pool, which was completely kind of out of bounds. It was so snaggy, but the snags would go back like 20 yards. And you could pull yourself in there, like with the boat. You could have them little old big boats. You could kind of pull yourself under all the snags. And there would just be these massive, like, I called them swimming pools, like craters, where the fish would just sit happily, like, away from everything. You could never fish for them in there.
No.
But it was nice to watch them. I've got some footage of them somewhere, just sitting in these massive craters. It was just real... old school fishing, if you like, really. A young lad fishing on an old school lake at the time.
You've been really lucky to have had access to quite a few.
Yeah, I've done some nice fishing.
Really quiet lakes, haven't you, with really old fish? You've got a good knack of getting into these.
Says him.
the gift of the gab, talking your way into some of these special places.
The way to do it back then was writing letters. That was the way to do it.
Yeah.
Now with all social media and phones and all that malarkey, no one ever seems to do it. But back then, again, he was kind of the godfather at the time. Jay, I took a lot of stuff from him and learnt a lot from Jason Hayward. Incredible angler and has a knack about getting onto lakes as well.
Yeah, but then you've obviously got to not only send letters to the people, but you've obviously got to get people like Jason on side,
absolutely,
for them to be able to get you in. So no, but this is it. You've got to a lot of people. You see lots of comments on social media of people when people like yourselves or whatever are fishing on a syndicate, and it's like, oh well, it's all right for him. You could never get on there, but you've tried. To speak to the right people and then go about it the right way to get yourself in. It's the sort of thing that anyone could do if they set their mind to it.
Yeah.
They just need to read How to Make Friends and Influence People.
Yeah, good
read that book.
There you go. Both of them have got it on their bookshelf.
But that kind of that EGGETS era led me on to kind of meeting a few people on there. Barley's decided to come for a cuddle again. Sorry, guys.
That's all right.
Coming on, mate. Come on. Come on. That led me on to. Come on, mate. What are you doing? Another incredible lake next door, known as Waterways. I don't know if you remember Waterways.
Yeah.
But I got talking to a chap through the fence, Dan Stacey, at the time, and we've become friends since. And we kind of came up with a deal with the homeowner of Waterways that, Barley.
She's falling down the cat
now.
Barley's trying to get to Scott now.
That if I did a little bit of lawn mowing, I could fish the lake. So Dan and I sort of managed to get a meeting with the homeowner of that house, who actually turns out he was... don't need to say what, but anyway, we came up with, I don't know what I can say and can't say.
Anyway, but not go down that
I
route.
became a bit of a gardener at that lake with Dan, and we got access to Fish Waterways, which was another special lake with similar fish to EGGETS in it. You know, really, really old carp. Kevin Nash used to fish there, and some real old school anglers back in the day. And we had another year or two's quite incredible fishing. Catching
Got
some.
myself a new lawnmower and all.
Get yourself a mower, mate. Go over them lakes. But yeah, I think we had a good knack at, you know, if we helped the lakes and helped the upkeep of the lake, you know, it was his garden at the end of the day. If we kept it all prim and proper, our payment was free fishing on quite an incredible lake. It worked.
I think those personal letters go a long way. There's quite a few places up by me, and unless you write a proper letter, they're not interested. It's just a bit more personal.
Yeah, it is,
and
mate.
It shows you're making an effort, doesn't it?
Yeah,
it is.
And how bad my spelling is. So
I had to get it all proofread and all that at the time. But no, it worked. And just, I think, being a genuine guy willing to help people at the lake, you get stuff in return.
Yeah.
It's been a pain. Sorry, lads. I thought you were just going to chill out, mate, but you're not, are you?
He's trying to get comfy, bless him.
Yeah. Come on then. Okay,
There
cool.
we
Right,
go.
There we go. We're rocking now.
So in Waterways, what
Yeah.
was like the one, or was there?
There
more
were
than the
several.
one?
There were several. There was a again from the Leany strain around that area. It was quite known for it around Hemmingford Grey, very old carp. There was a special Leany linear in there as well, and 3 big commons. One we known as the Marlin common, because it had like this mad dorsal fin, and several others. But it was easy fishing. You know, it wasn't fished. You know, you could go out, use your boat, drop your baits, pre-bait whenever you wanted to. It was very easy fishing, Harry, because it was just me and Dan, and I caught them all pretty quick, to be honest. Yeah, I probably fished it more than I should have. I feel like I could have had the campaign a little bit longer, you know, and enjoyed it.
Yeah, do you?
I got it over with a bit too quick. Do you know what I mean?
But his lawn looked mint.
Yeah,
That was
when
why he
you've
got
got
it done it quick, because he didn't want to keep going back and cutting the grass.
Yeah, exactly. I don't enough grass going and gardening.
Mowers on the last legs.
Yeah,
This
that's
needs to
right.
end soon.
It's now opened up as a Crown Green bowling centre.
Like it.
Yeah, and we actually there was 3 lakes there. There was another one next door to Waterways that we only managed one session on. He probably didn't like the way I cut his grass, maybe. But
That's good for everyone listening now. Get those gardener cards posted through some letterboxes, isn't
good
it?
times,
It's
mate.
the way out.
Good times.
I want to touch on sort of your rigs as well. Speaking to a lot of anglers on the guests we've had, and that everyone sort of homes down over the years when they've just got, listen, I've got like 2 or 3 in my armoury, that's it.
Yeah.
When you're approaching these areas now where you found your spots and you're fishing a bottom bait or a pop-up, what's your rig you now use? What is your holy grail?
Holy grail rigs wise, I've as we've got older, you know, rigs have got a bit less important to me, if you like. Like I look at rigs now, and like a Withy pool rig for me is like a hinge. It's got the same curve, it's got the same stiffness. It's just kind of with different components.
Yeah.
I think there's so many different variations. Like a hinge is a very decent pop-up rig that I actually used last night. Good big fish rig. In terms of a bottom bait rig, you can't beat a blowback presentation.
Yeah.
But a lot of it's all the same, just with a few tiny tweaks, you know. Sorry.
Do you do the spinner fishing?
Yeah, I use spinners. Yeah, absolutely. For, you know, they're quick, they're convenient. You can change your hook nice and quickly. So if I'm catching lots of carp, then a spinner would be a good option.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm not. I don't tweak all the time. I like to show people lots of different things on my social media,
Yeah.
but they're not like all the rigs that I use all the time.
You're just showing this is what's
yeah.
available, this is how you do it.
Yeah, absolutely.
But your own personal fishing, you'll probably narrow it down to 2 or 3.
spinner, a hinge, or like a standard bottom bait rig, like a blowback or something.
Barley's gone rogue. He's just literally
sorry,
marauding
mate.
the studio.
No,
now.
Checking out the
No.
studio, hunting for biscuits.
I can go and put him in the van if he's a pain, but
It's fine.
He's all right.
yeah. So yeah, rigs wise, Dino, there's as long as it doesn't tangle, it can reset itself. The hook is as sharp as it possibly can be.
Yeah.
If I've got those 3 factors, I'm pretty happy with the
You're
rig.
happy with that?
Yeah.
Cool, man.
Yeah.
And in terms of, this is always a talking point on this podcast, colours.
Yeah.
What is your go-to colour? Where is your confidence at?
It's yellows and pinks at the moment.
It is, isn't it?
Yeah. Yellows and pinks this time of
Come here,
year.
Barley.
We talk about this a lot, don't we, H? The
Well,
colours.
I did actually want to speak to you about because obviously you did an underwater with Sip on Stanek,
Yeah.
and we did an underwater
Very
with Sip
frustrating venue,
on
that.
yeah. But you went through pretty
All
much
sorts.
everything,
Absolutely.
and then ended up with back where you started,
Yeah,
pretty much.
Yeah, absolutely. I think a lot of that was down to like the feeding scenario as well.
Yeah.
I think also the actual camera itself really doesn't help,
No.
especially on a venue like that.
Yeah.
Like Brad, who runs the venue, he knows I go down there and catch 4 or 5 in a day doing exactly the same thing. But when there's a camera in their face, it just completely changes.
It does.
They just wouldn't get down and feed how they would have done the week before without the camera.
Yeah.
And we were thinking, do we just turf it in with pellet? But if we do and they don't come, it's all in there. We can't take it out. It's with those underwater films, I think the camera is a big factor in the way they feed.
Yeah.
As in, like, they just don't like it. Well,
Yeah.
they didn't at Elson's anyway.
No.
But in terms of like colours, I felt like I didn't get enough opportunities to be able to say the pink was better than the yellow is better than the
Yeah.
the
But you,
matching
and
bait.
I think the other thing, were you in September? Were you filming?
It was like August, September time, so late in the year.
Later, which I feel like colours become less
Yeah.
important.
And they probably had a good battering by then. But we tried, I tried matching like CC Moore do like these little Bellichan pellet hook baits. They're very similar to those pellets that I was feeding. And but when you're in a situation like that, when they were coming in and feeding on the little pellets, it's a bit of needle in a haystack. It's like, do they have to eat like 50 pellets before they take? Is that going to be the last one that they take?
Yeah.
But then the colour, sometimes they were coming to and just sort of shying away.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was.
What do you think it is that that last second where they just turf off? What do you think they're seeing? Are they seeing or are they
I think,
sensing?
Could be, yeah.
It's anything, but they've just decided that that's not for me.
No.
But they're coming in to have it, and that happens more with a pink than with anything else.
Yeah, absolutely.
Definitely.
Yeah,
They come in to have a look at it,
yeah,
and then they make a decision.
yeah.
They're on that line, aren't they? It's
Yeah,
happening,
yeah,
it's
they-
happening, it's
they-
happening, and then no.
They 100% are attracted
To the
visually
colour. Yeah,
to that
definitely.
pink,
Definitely.
and then they'll make the decision at the last minute. And whether that's because they can sense the flavour, whether they think, nah, that looks too wrong, or
Could be a glint of a hook. Could be the
glint of a
movement.
hook, could be the movement
Yeah.
as well.
Yeah.
That's a thing. So there are lots of different reasons as to why they won't take it,
Yeah, definitely.
but they do like that pink.
I think that's what ended up getting a bite on in the end, was like quite a slightly heavier balanced bait, if you like. So it wasn't like dancing around like
Yeah.
this. I think it was just sort of lifted up off the bottom.
I think, did we talk about it the last time I was on this podcast about how I've got a distinct hatred of wafty baits since all the underwater footage has come out? I can't remember.
Yeah, you like a bait now that sits
That's
as a freebie.
Anchored on the
Yeah.
bottom. Yeah. There's too much underwater footage now where if that bait is wafting around,
Yeah.
it freaks the fish out.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But then you got somebody like Tom Maker who literally fishes his bait so
Yeah.
critically balanced that it just sinks
does.
down. He catches
He does.
shit tons of fish.
Yeah, he does.
So obviously it can't be the end of the world, but all the underwater footage shows it that they don't like it. I think you've just got to get, if you've got a feeding scenario where they're really troughing, and Tom does build them sort of feeding scenarios where you are
and there's lots of fish on the venues.
Yeah, and there'd be loads of bait. You can imagine in them, there'd be loads of bait wafting up off the bottom where they're all like going for it. It's more likely, but I think what we're doing with those underwater films often is because you need a fish on a clean, hard spot for the camera.
Yeah,
you're generally not getting massive groups of fish competing. It's more picky attitude, and them little things like the wafty bait is making a difference.
I'd definitely agree. If you can get those fish feeding in a way that they've just totally dropped their guard, then you can catch them on anything.
Pretty much anything.
Right.
Yeah.
And but if you're fishing for one bite in a session, like, you really need your sort of A game out there, don't you?
Yeah, you do. Yeah, interesting. It's frustrating, actually, that one.
Yeah.
It was.
Would you do it again, or has it put you off?
No, I'd love to do it again. I don't think I'll do it in August, September time. I think I'd want to do it in early May.
Yeah,
early May, when you can club them and your rig works wonders.
Is there sort of a venue you'd love to do it at as well? Is there somewhere you think, it'd be good there to go?
Yeah. There's a lake in France called Chanterine.
Right.
Which is quite an amazing lake with a lot of very big old carp in it, and it's gin clear. They're incredibly wise. I've using a glass bottom bucket. I've been in there, and they've cleaned me out time and time again on there, and I'd love to see how they've achieved that.
Yeah, and seeing it actually play out in front.
These
of
are
you.
like 50, 60 pound fish. That are. Not big fat pale things that have just been sort of put in. They've been in there a long time. I'd just like to see how they're doing it. Cause
what are they clocking? And being able to feed around it and look.
I tell you what, I fished Chanterine 3 or 4 times now, 3 or 4 weeks. And the first 2 times, I think I caught 1 or 2 in like a week's fishing. It was hard, but I was constantly done. But at the time, I was fishing a lot of particles. So I was fishing like hemp, small pellets, corn, chopped tiger, bit of everything, And I did the same that like the following time I went there and again got pretty cleaned out. The third time I went there, I decided I was getting rid of all of that particle, like nothing. I was just using tigers, big pellets like halibuts, 15mm boilies, just solid big baits, not putting as much in. And I had like 11 bites that time with I think I had 350s in a day. It was the big one in the lake, sort of 54.
Get them moving.
Yeah,
that's the thing. The small stuff. You get them in, you get them feeding, and they can feed for a long periods of time, but it does make them harder to catch. And conversely, the big items might take them a bit more to get feeding on them, but I think maybe bigger fish, you got a better chance of them eating them bigger items.
Yeah, and that's what happened.
Do you think it's the carp that are clearing you out, or is it the small fish eating all the particles and leaving the hook bait? So you're checking the spot and thinking you've been cleaned out by carp, but you haven't. No, because
there were bigger items in the mix,
right?
There were boilies and tigers, and I'd just have like one tiger nut just sat there. I'm like, but the following year when I just fed bigger baits,
I know pictures when he was going out to the same lake that you go out to in Germany. Yeah. He was saying he was having the same thing going out checking.
I watched one of your videos. You got cleaned out.
Oh yeah,
they clean you out there. Stefan's as well, didn't you?
Yeah, you just think they're just massive hungry carp that would just eat absolutely everything, don't you?
But I wonder whether pictures was putting bits and bobs in, because since learning from that Chanterine trip, when I go to Germany now, it's generally just bigger items. And I've the last 2 years in Germany, I've had good trips. I think I had 11, 12 bites this year.
Yeah.
Some seriously big fish, I think up to 58, 59.
Yeah, they're unreal.
And I wasn't getting cleared out as anywhere near as much as before.
We're going together this year, aren't we? Me and you? We're going.
I like to go on my own.
I think we're going together.
I'm driving
on
that trip.
I'm driving.
Okay, well, yeah, we'll have a little talk.
How did you two become friends?
I have no idea.
Didn't know we were friends. No, I'm just kidding.
I can't remember
Because you've been friends for a long time.
Jimmy was
working
working-
at opposite ends, not ends of the
Always
industry.
rivals.
Always rivals.
yeah.
Jimmy was working for Total Carp. I was working for Crafty Carper. So DHP, the publishers, and Angling Publications. So we were rivals. So our paths didn't really cross.
No.
Then the first time I actually ever saw him, I don't think we talked, but he was
Fell in love.
at Thurston Lakes BCAC final, and you were doing pictures for Total Carp there. The year that Brian
Dave Gawthorne.
and Dave won it. I was the runner back at the marshal weighing their fish, and you were
Oh,
there
you were busy.
with your highlights and
camera.
everything, Total Carps up and everything.
Kevin Peterson haircut.
And then you went to work for Corda, then I went to work for Fox. So
That's
again, we
right.
were working for rival companies.
Yeah.
And I just don't know where it. I
Because I
remember
always thought you were...
Yeah, no, I don't.
because I got on. I think
The odd show, maybe? You got
Gar,
chatting.
I used to chat with Garth
Yeah.
and you at the shows. I don't think we went for that. The Essex Old Brentwood show. We went to that nightclub that time. Do you remember?
Yeah.
And we didn't have. We were wearing trainers.
Yeah.
And we queued up all the way
I
to
do
the
remember.
front. So we'd seen that. Oh, what you need to do? People aren't getting in with trainers. You got to put your socks over.
Did
your,
I actually do
Yeah.
that?
Yeah. So we all put our socks over our
That's
trainers.
right,
We've
yeah.
queued all the way to the front. The
Yeah.
bouncer's gone to me.
I do.
You're wearing socks over your trainers.
Yeah.
I was like, hey.
Am I?
He went, you ain't coming in, right? And then Jimmy took his socks off, and he was wearing like Van style, like dark trainers. And mate,
Yeah.
he went, you'll be fine in them. You didn't need to
That's
put your
right.
socks on.
See you later,
Yeah, so
Louis.
they all fucked off and went in.
Sleep well, mate.
I'm sat on the wall outside this nightclub just feeling sorry for myself. I text Tom Dove, because he lived in Brentwood at the time. He was coming to the club. So any chance you can bring some shoes with you for me so I can get in?
Yeah.
So I'm sat there. Before Tom Dove gets there, the manager of the nightclub comes out. He went, listen, mate, he said, I'm feeling really sorry watching you on the CCTV outside. He went, go in there and join your mates. Then Tom Dove's ringing me. I've got the shoes. I'm at the door. I'm like, I'm in, it's fine. So he had to book in some shoes into the clothes.
Yeah, he did. I remember that well now, mate. Wow. That was a long time ago.
That was ages ago. And then, and Jimmy started fishing on a lake literally 5 minutes from my house.
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
you
became
became
his-
his cameraman.
The Folly, wasn't it? Was it the Folly?
No. Oh, yeah.
Was it before
We
that?
joined the Folly together before you was fishing at the low level.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
yeah, way before.
Yeah, we did a Shelton's
that's
open
right.
day. He was there with
That's
Corda,
right.
I was there with Fox, and we arranged both of us to go and do
Yeah.
a walk round with the
That's when I
bailiff.
first met Jarvis as well.
Yeah, and we walked round, and there was fish everywhere on
There
the
was,
top,
yeah.
big uns, all at one end. Nobody fishing for them. We got to this guy at the other end, and we're like, "There's loads of fish down the other end." And mate, he went, "Yeah, they're always down there." And we were like,
Was that Stella Man?
Yeah.
Stella Man.
And we were like,
Why are you here?
why are you in this swim then? Is it because you're waiting for the southwesterly wind to pick up and come down this end? He went, no, so I get the best signal from my TV.
I mean, they were like, we're going to like it.
We were like walking around going, we're going to have it away on here. Like,
Yeah.
and I struggled, to be fair. Jimmy did better than I did, I think. But
Because you get out, so you get out and do quite a bit of perch and pike fishing together as well.
Now and then, not enough.
not
enough.
like we take it in turns, go into each other's house for like
Dinners and stuff,
with the missuses and Jimmy's kids, and sometimes we'll work it so we can like go a bit of
fishing.
piking in the morning.
They do more of that, mate.
Yeah.
No, sounds
Yeah,
good.
so it's blossomed, hasn't it, mate?
But
from-
yeah,
from
like, and
the
then I
nightclub.
became Jimmy's resident photographer for a couple of seasons when he was fishing on a lake that I really, really wanted to be able to fish, but I couldn't get on. And Jimmy was on there, and
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
special, wasn't it?
it would be 6 o'clock in the morning, regularly in the spring.
You gone to work yet,
yeah,
mate?
Yeah,
No.
phone go.
Result?
Abby will be like, "Oh God, he's ringing again."
It's him again.
Yeah, and then I remember it clear as day. There was a massive one in that lake that me and Jim Wilson saw from the boat, a huge fish, and Jimmy hadn't caught it.
I thought I'd had the biggest
Yeah,
one.
he thought he'd had the biggest one, and I was at the shows that winter saying, "You need to go back, mate. We've seen this one on the boat. It's massive."
I was done. I was going
Yeah.
on a different lake.
And I had a meeting to go to Carpology's offices to discuss all the advertising, and I was fast asleep. It was April, so it was just at the start of spring when like Jimmy would start back on that. I think it was the first trip back
Yeah,
on
it was,
there.
yeah.
like 6 a.m, the phone goes. Abby's gone, oh, it started again.
Jimmy,
And I'm like, all right, mate. He went, I've got a massive scaly mirror, massive one. I was like, I told you it was in there. And so I was in my shirt, trousers, everything, traipsing around all this dewy grass, taking his picture. I want some returners in the lake.
Disney waders, mate.
And that fish only ever got caught once again. Lee Walton caught it, and it's never been caught since. 2 captures that we know of.
And it's a proper special one.
Two very lucky pub chuckers.
Mega.
Yeah, because Lee caught it the first, because it had
it became
a bit more of a syndicate than just Jimmy's only club.
and then
he caught it on the
very
weekend,
first night,
and then it didn't get. But it got. I'm sure it got seen a fair few times.
Yeah.
So
it's never been found dead, and people go, "Oh, well, you're not seeing it from the boat." Jimmy fished there for 2 years and never saw it from the boat.
It's true. It's true. It's very snaggy, isn't it?
Yeah,
Like,
there's
ridiculous.
and with a boat, especially with an outboard, it's so shallow. They're gone before you get to them.
Yeah.
You need, if you like tie yourself up in the trees and wait 20 minutes, half hour, all of a sudden these ghosts appear from nowhere. They start to come
Some
back.
lake.
But generally, people are just scooting around looking and seeing a smidgen of what is actually in that lake.
So glad I never experienced like the other people on there.
Had it to yourself.
Paupers,
There's a swim on there now called Jimmy's Nest.
Jimmy's Nest, Land of the Bittens, I used to call it.
That's the same swim where he was in the atom, crouched over doing his
it was
doing
in his nest.
Yeah, in the nest.
So I had to make the swims, in that lake. That was just really dense Norfolk reed bed, but like super high reeds.
That must have been ridiculously exciting.
Yeah,
Proper
it was, mate.
journey of discovery.
Just ridiculous.
And proper edge of your seat fishing as well with all of those
Mate,
snags.
it was raw, it was really raw, as you know. Well, you didn't see it. Well, you did because you were down there, but it was super, super raw. Even the fish, the way they behaved, were like raw animals. The bites were just like gone. They hit you so hard. I lost a rod and a reel in there. One time, I probably should never admit this, but I will because it was a long time ago now. But Louis had kindly sent me some Horizon XTs back then, and I had them with a Daiwa tournament. And I remember fishing locked up with, it would have been like Neville's at the time. And I remember just hearing like whack, looked over, and the rod was just spearing into the lake, like it got gone. Straight in the boat, like after it, rod vanished, gone, never be seen ever again. Like, Louis, can I have a 4th XT?
To put a bit of context to the lake for people to associate with, it's had a film made on it. Sticky Baits made a film on there with Miles Gibson years after Jimmy fished it, the Snaggy Pit. Jim Wilson made a Corda film on there.
The Obsession?
Yeah, film that he made with Richard Stewart.
Yeah.
So to visualise the lake a bit, the snags and everything, you can watch those films and see how snaggy it is. But it's mega.
They call it the Snaggy Pit.
Yeah,
is that right?
It doesn't have a proper name.
Yeah,
but like because it's
proper raw fishing.
There's
it's like flooded forest. Isn't it? Like mental.
It averages
like as close as you can get to rainbow in the
mate. Yeah, no, it is.
It averages 4 foot deep, 3 foot deep, and that's one of the reasons the bites are so savage. They've got nowhere to go on a bite. They just torpedo. Every guy who's ever fished there will make if whatever snag fishing you've done locked up will never prepare you for a bite in that particular lake. It's insane. Full storm poles bent over on the bite.
You're a braid user as well, aren't you?
Because you want to be straight on them. It was it was braid locked up, and if you weren't on it, mate,
most of the guys
I know it
on
sorted out a lot of good anglers, helped them learn you got to learn very quick.
Most of the members on there now are only using braid if they're fishing in the swims that are really long tows with the boat. The shorter swims they're using like 25 28 pound like mono, like because they need a little bit of stretch. They need a little bit of stretch because like some of the swims you're fishing literally like 4 or 5 wraps locked solid, hit and hold mental shit, and if you try and do that with braid, something gives.
You're going more ski.
It's a crazy lake.
So, some of the swims you would even when I was fishing it, some of these like snags and like flooded islands, if you like, were 20 yards out. So you could, it sounds crazy, you would fish through and over them into the open water. When you got a bite, you just, flick it off that and then go and play them in open water.
Yeah.
It was carnage, really.
Right.
Because back then it was really raw. That's how you had to fish it.
Yeah, there's a swim on there called Del Boys, because he who dares wins, basically. Literally, like if you're prepared to fish that hairy, it's a crazy lake.
Best fishing, some of the best fishing
Good
I've
memories,
ever had.
mate.
And again, I was lucky enough to do it kind of before anyone else, really.
Nice. Fantastic. Good
So if
memories.
there's any other lakes people want to introduce me to, I'm very good at that sort of thing.
You can mow a good lawn. Guys, sadly, we are out of time. I'd love to carry on chatting about everything else, but time is against us. Before we go, I'd like to say, if you want to come fishing with Team Fox, if you like to get on the bank with the likes of Spurge and Max Whitehall and Terry Edmonds, next week we are running competitions where you can win places on our socials. If you scan the QR code on the bottom left of your screen now, that will take you to our official community page of the syndicate. Get over there, become a member, and you'll find details of how you can win places on our socials. Before we go, as ever, it's our normal podcast competition. So if you would like to win 100 quid's worth of Fox Terminal tackle, in the comments below, I would like to know how many days a week does Jimmy do, and also put in there
how many days a week does Jimmy admit to do it?
Yeah, sorry, how many times? How many does he admit to? And also put what you do as well, guys. How often do you get out? What's your sort of run-of-the-mill routine in your own angling? Other than that, guys, that brings to an end another podcast.
And you can't enter that, Jimmy, for that Fox Edges bundle. I'm afraid, mate. You'll have to keep using your quarter end tackle this spring. Sorry.
Thanks, mate.
Jimmy, thank you ever so much for joining us, mate.
Cheers.
Thank you.
Jimmy.
Cheers, guys. Thanks, buddy.